You're not gonna count it down. Okay.
No. You just go whatever you're
I was like, okay.
And 5, 4, 3.
Stop. I was ready. My name is DeVante, and this is my video out. So I went to school in Westchester, pretty much from K to 12. I left for a little bit, but from K to 12. And then I also spent my weekends and stuff in Harlem and the Bronx with my family. So I grew up in Westchester. I was in a very black town, but was in a white suburb. So that's a very interesting dynamic. It was cool. I had a few friends and stuff that I chilled with at school, but I didn't really do much with them outside of school. I wasn't super popular, but people knew me because I danced and stuff and I sang. And then I started getting into theater. And then in Harlem, my family is pretty large, and people know, my dad and my uncles and stuff like that. So I always, people love me. My parents grew up in the same projects, right in two separate buildings. So they're legends for the most part in that little area, not in some large thing. They'll tell you different. But yeah, it was cool. I first started messing with this boy when I was in kindergarten. So that might have been an early indicator, but that was also just us being curious, I think. I don't know. I kind of had a crush on him. I don't know. But yeah, so I guess kindergarten might have been the first exposure to it, or to the idea that I could, but I didn't have any language for that at all. It was just a very it was just having fun for the most part. I also had a girlfriend and stuff, so it was just very much pansexual tease. So then I think in 6th grade when puberty hit, I was oh, these boys are fine. What's going on? So I think that's when I got a little boy crazy. And then most of middle school, early high school was very much what is going on? Do I really like boys? That's crazy. I shouldn't like boys. And battling that. So, yeah. Probably was one of the boys that I was messing with. I was just because I didn't I wasn't very open with my friends about it. It was a very I'm not telling nobody. But I was always very feminine, so I don't know why I was trying to hide it. But yeah, so I can't remember if there was any let me sit someone down and be hey girl, I'm gay. It just kind of after a while just was a thing, but it was never a moment where I was this is me coming out, this is my story, sis. No, I mean, that's a complicated question, because I feel people should live in their truth and be exactly who they are and live that authentically. So if that is coming out, then sure. But the announcement is kind of it's getting old. It's girl, you're gay, so am I. And so is she and he. And we've been gay. It's fine. It's totally fine. So I feel it's just a little it's very just, it's old. So I think that and I feel you don't just come out that one time. You gotta tell this person, and you go to this circle and you tell them. And anytime you walk into a room for some people, you come out and so it's what is really coming out. So I think people should just live in who they are. And as openly and as freely as they feel safe. Because I think there's also this everybody has to come out the closet, and we all gotta just like throw flags and just be like super out and queer, and that's not everyone's story, and that's not where everyone is like safe at. So it's just like, hey, if you want us to tell people, then tell people. If you don't, then that's fine too. But that there's like, everyone needs to come out. We need to like form an alliance, and like people will find their way into formation. Like it's not like everyone doesn't have to do the same thing. Like you got the girls in the back, you know. So yeah. So I grew up in church, so like automatically it's just like that was wrong, and I think that's where I like struggled the most because it was just like these feeling like I've always been taught that like how I felt and what I was feeling is always valid. So like it was like I'm having these feelings, but I'm told that they're wrong. So it's like how do I like work through that like dichotomy? So yeah, um, I was bullied definitely like a lot growing up just because I was like really feminine. I grew up around a bunch of women who also were raising, like my mother was the only person in her circle. I think she also had another friend that was like raising a boy, but like everyone else was raising girls that she was like friends with. So it was just like being socialized in this way around these girls, and like was this thing of like there's certain things that I know are taught to girls that I like have internalized myself just because of like being around them. But then when I was like doing those things, it would be like, why are you doing that? And like this harsh kind of like, and it's just like I've always just been very like I'm just doing what I feel comfortable and that like what feels natural to me. So like that kind of like boys shouldn't do that. Like why are you? I was like very much into like the girls on wrestling or like the girl like suit like Rogue was my girl. I love her. I thought that she was like I always just like girls. Like I thought that they were like the more powerful like of the two like scarring people or whatever. I don't even know what the fuck. But yeah, like I always but like I would try to like mix my like masculinity and like what I did like with that to try to get approval, but like it was still like there's something wrong with that. You shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, so that was a lot. It was a lot of just like a punitive like why are you kind of thing. There's this thing about visibility and things where like we're trying to place people in the forefront, which I think is cool and I think like is necessary. But I think the way we're doing it is only like showing but so much. And like also it's not like we're only getting like when we do this thing of visibility and we're showing like one or even just a few types of people, you're not showing a full breadth of people. Like so people look at certain things and they're like, I know what being gay is, I know what being trans is, and it's just like, girl, no you don't. But like, oh, I've seen it, so I like, and I like, and it's just like no one's ever like, oh, because I've seen this person on TV and I've seen Laverne Cox or I've seen Janet Mock, I don't have to talk to the trans girl that I know down my block because I know her story. I know what she said. Like, you went to Thailand and got those titties. Like, it's like, no, I was down in like Flatbush doing that. So it's just like, I think there's this like idea of like, oh, let's have visibility, but we're only showing like one story. And I don't think that it is possible to show everyone's story because everyone, especially when you're talking about like queer folks, everyone has such a large and different story. And like usually when we're showing the trans girls, it's usually like a Janet Mock who's very passable. It's a very like Laverne Cox, as she is like starting to look more passable, is starting to get like, oh, now she's in the Fenty show, but like where were the girls that like don't look like that? Don't make the same mistake we did with Paris is Burning, where like it was super like we're all gay, we're like we're loving it, we're voguing, and like I feel like that's happening now. We're like all voguing and like all the girls are like back in the ballroom and it's just like, wait, what happened? And then all of a sudden it's like once the new thing comes along, where are those girls gonna be? So I think just don't let our magic, our love, our like tenacity just be commodified. Like don't let people buy that shit. It's not worth it because who's gonna be there at the end of the day? Children, the future. because thinking back on like when you asked me like how I grew up and things like that, and then looking at like my godson and like other kids that I like know, that's not the same. Like they're allowed to be way more free. There's like a fluidity in like their likes and dislikes and like what they're allowed to like be into, what they're exposed to, like because I guess of this visibility, they're able to see it and like identify with things faster and quicker, and like technology helps that as much as possible as well. But I think like children and like their abundance of love, like they're like I don't know any like human that loves as much as children do, like that like just spews out, and they're, because they're so small, I guess they can't like hold it all, so they're just like, oh, I love you. It's like, wow. But yeah, my legs. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
Yes. No. You are ready.
I'm hella creative, and I love to think outside the box, and like I love to research. So all those things coming together is like really dope. I'm like the best live show you've probably been to. Yeah.
Okay.
Rhianna should come out with music. Waiting for an album, sis. I don't even know. I think people should learn to love in a way that is not a noun but an action word. And love is, I think it does get thrown around a lot. But if you love with intention, it's so much better, and like it has more impact. And I think it like allows people to dig deeper and to ask more questions and to like understand folks more if they like love with intention and just not just like, oh, I love her. It's like, girl, you don't. So yeah, everyone should love with intention. I want to talk about this shit for a hot minute.
Speak on it.
You can cut off that.